The 7 levels of horror movies, explained.
Level 1. Trash.
These movies suck objectively and subjectively. The acting, directing, screenplay, script, everything is garbage. The post-production is so trash it's pre-production. Movies like Slender Man, Troll 2 and Birdemic embody this level, may it be the lack of budget or the lack of brain cells behind the creation of these movies. Either way, they stink. I don't need to provide words in the English dictionary to explain why Birdemic is trash, so let's take a look at Slender Man. Slender Man utterly fails to generate real fear despite having prime source material. Instead of leaning into the eerie, creepypasta atmosphere, the film leans on tired teen horror tropes, clumsy plot development and ineffective scares. A clear example of its failure is the library scene, where what should be a moment of psychological escalation devolves into random glitch effects rather than building on atmospheric eeriness that, for example, Ari Aster pulls off in Hereditary. And before I move on to the next category, feel free to throw in snuff, gore, shock horror into this category as well. Human Centipede, Serbian Film, the Guinea Pig series, the whole lot of them are straight poo.
Level 2. Bad.
This level is unique, as unlike the first level, you can enjoy these movies, and unlike the next level, they won't bore you. Don't get me wrong, from a cinematic connoisseur perspective, it's still bad, but even then it can still be fun to watch, especially with a group of friends. There are also bad horrors out there that are absolutely blockbuster, like Freddy vs Jason and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I would also throw in the majority, but not all, of goofy animal monster horror into this category as well. This includes Meth Gator, Mega Python vs Gatoroid, Sharknado, Zombievers, and Big Ass Spider. No, I'm not kidding, that's a movie. Sharknado is the prime example from that list. It's so poorly made but equally ludicrous. The premise is that a tornado keeps on lifting sharks out of the ocean and dropping them onto Los Angeles. Need I say any more? These movies are stupid and make no sense, but what separates level 2 from level 1 is you can have a hell of time watching them.
Level 3. Mid.
You don't fall asleep watching bad horror movies, but you do fall asleep watching mid horror movies. This category I like to call the melatonin category, and if it doesn't put you to sleep, you'll most certainly forget you even watched it the next day. What separates this from bad is that you can clearly see effort was put into making these movies, from post-production, sound and story. There's a vision. Sadly, the vision is 2070 and needs Specsavers. These movies fall short of captivating the audience. Movies such as Trap, The Monkey, Night Swim and The Nun fall into this category. Using The Nun as an example, which I really had high hopes for, we can see that it has atmosphere without substance. What should have been moments of mounting terror became predictable loops that made me fall asleep. Also, sequels of many great horror movies fit into this level as well, such as Saw 3, Paranormal Activity 2, Grave Encounters 2, Sinister 2 and so on and so on. The majority of horror movies pumped out by the industry fall into this category, but it's also worth mentioning that the genre of horror itself already has an uphill battle to climb due to the nature of the genre and its formula. Jump scares become cheap, possession stories become repetitive, and haunted houses feel similar. Unlike dramas or thrillers, horror depends almost entirely on surprise, tension, and atmosphere. You have to subvert expectations or bring something new to the table, otherwise even a competently made film will land as mid.
Level 4. Upper mid.
Unlike level 3 horror movies that are the equivalent of vanilla ice cream, level 4 adds sprinkles to it. Objectively, you can't really say that these movies are bad, but you can't say that they're great either. They've got enough story, suspense or creativity to keep you watching, but not enough to make you fall in love with it. I mean, sure, there's movies out there that have developed a cult, but realistically, they're just missing that it factor to push it to the next level from a cinematic perspective. Longlegs specifically fits into this level because it nails mood and dread far better than it delivers narrative payoff. The film is dripping with atmosphere, unsettling performances, oppressive silence and a creepy villain, but when the story starts to reveal itself, it doesn't capitalise on that tension. A prime example of this is the interrogation and clue gathering sequences, where the film teases profound psychological horror but repeatedly deflates its own tension by over-explaining the mystery, turning what should feel uncanny into something procedural and emotionally distant. This is the tier where horror plays it safe. The acting is passable, the script follows a formula, and the scares land occasionally. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, which is why it sits in purgatory where they're good enough but never great. Other films that fall into this category in my opinion are also The Visit, The Boy, and Incantation.
Level 5. Great.
When someone recommends a horror movie, it will most likely fall into this category. Not masterpieces, not genre defining, but solid films that deliver exactly what you came for with some memorable moments, and you might even find yourself caring for the characters. The atmosphere starts to build tension like in Sinister, but they still rely on jump scares every now and then to carry the mood. The perfect example would also be the first Conjuring, Insidious, and Grave Encounters. Movies that don't reinvent the genre but execute everything extremely well, and it's clear a talented team were behind the creation. It Chapter 1 earns its place in level 5 because it balances genuine character development with effective crowd-pleasing horror. The film understands that Pennywise works best as a delivery system for fear, not the sole focus, grounding its scares in childhood trauma, friendship, and vulnerability. The film also has a strong coming-of-age narrative, and having a strong focus on childhood trauma and friendship gives the fear real emotional weight rather than making it feel disposable. A prime example of this working is the Georgie sewer opening scene, which is effective not just for its shock, but how patiently it builds dread through performance and framing before the violence occurs. What separates level 5 from level 4 is that these movies leave a mark on you. Maybe it's one scene, or the villain sticks with you, or the twist that shook you. Whatever it is, these movies deliver a lasting impression.
Level 6. Amazing.
We are now entering the realm of art. These films are meticulously constructed. Every camera movement, sound cue, edit, and performance serves a psychological or thematic purpose. The horror isn't just in what you see, but in what the film implies, forcing the audience to engage emotionally. Level 6 films embrace structural and tonal risks, implementing lingering long takes, unconventional pacing, and twisted endings. An example of what I mean with risk is the Hereditary car scene. These are movies that refuse the comfort of formula, opting instead for ambition that pays off. The first Saw delivered a masterclass in horror, with a plot twist so audacious it changed the blueprint for modern horror. Train to Busan and 28 Days Later proved that zombie movies can still rise to the top with their bleak atmospheric filmmaking, blending raw digital realism with haunting imagery to create two of the most immersive and emotional outbreak films ever made. Other notable horror films I would consider amazing are Get Out, Scream, and Hereditary. Even newer films like Sinners and Weapons push boundaries and prove horror is evolving fast and far from dead. And this level isn't dominated by Hollywood alone. Some of the most groundbreaking horror films ever made come from international cinema. Spain delivered Wreck, a masterclass in sustained tension and escalation that redefined found footage horror. Japan gave us Ringu, one of the most cursed films with a simple delivery and impressive build-up of viewer anticipation through mixing footage formats which works hand in hand with the eerie story. And South Korea's I Saw the Devil blurred the line between horror and revenge thriller with brutal moral complexity, pushing the genre into darker, more confrontational territory. What separates level 6 from 5 is consistency and ambition. They combine bold creative choices with technical excellence so that every element amplifies the same emotional core. Where a level 5 movie nails a sequence or two, level 6 movies sustain a tone and vision across the entire runtime.
Level 7. GOAT.
These movies are generational art, the peak of the peak. They influenced filmmakers, started movements, rewired expectations, and proved that horror can be just as artistic, meaningful, and powerful as any Oscar-winning drama. Name the directors behind these films and you'll immediately recognize them, figures the industry regards as benchmarks for the craft. It's one thing to say a monster movie is great, but to say that it's John Carpenter great is the highest compliment. To say a zombie movie is George Romero great is the highest achievement. The movies themselves become reference points for greatness. You don't say it's a good possession movie, you say it's Exorcist level. You don't say it's a good slasher, you say it's Psycho level. When a film enters level 7, everything else gets measured against it, and not just horror but throughout pop culture as well, may it be books, TV shows or anime. And sat on the throne above them all, the King of Kings is Silence of the Lambs. The first, and still the only horror film to sweep the Oscars, winning the Big Five: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Adapted Screenplay. The Silence of the Lambs stands as a pinnacle of the genre, beautifully crafted, intelligent and anchored by two of the most iconic performances ever to grace the big screen, being Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho also shook the cinematic world. It invented the modern slasher blueprint and took a leap of faith with its early plot twist that had never been done before. And The Wailing, a genre-blending masterpiece that fuses folklore, mystery, religious horror and human tragedy into one of the most thematically layered horror films ever made. That rounds up the GOATs alongside The Thing, Dawn of the Dead and The Exorcist. And if you want to see the 7 levels of plot twists, check out this video here.